scholars of the late works of Tennessee Williams, specifically one named Linda Dorff, talks about his late plays as theatricalist cartoons, meaning that he's making fun of himself in these later works. And so yes, situations, characters that we may be familiar with from the earlier plays are definitely resonant and echoing in these later plays, and often in very perverse and bizarre ways. For example, in this play there's a character called Playboy. Playboy is described as an adolescent, in the 1983 jargon, mentally retarded child. He is also a compulsive masturbator. Playboy to me is like the no-neck monsters of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof run amok, because he's just constantly running all over the stage, causing problems. And this compulsive masturbation, Tennessee just could not necessarily do that on stage in 1950 something, but this is where his mind was, this is where his head was going. And so like I say, it's a theatricalist, it's a cartoon, it's a parody, it's a spoof of his former works. And we also have to understand and think that Tennessee had a very perverse sense of humor. He would be in the theater laughing at his own plays at what most people would consider to be the most serious moments. For example, last night watching A Streetcar Named Desire, there are several exchanges where Mitch says to Blanche, "I thought you were straight. I thought you knew I wasn't straight." I mean, Tennessee was in the back of the theater laughing his head off at this dialogue. And this is perhaps one of the most serious, gut-wrenching moments in the play at the same time. By later in his career, you don't know where he's coming from when he puts a character like Playboy on the stage. It is kind of a take on his earlier stuff, but at the same time, something wholly new and different. The late Tennessee Williams is generally defined as starting around 1961 with Night of the Iguana, which was his last kind of major commercial success. And we hate to define things in terms of commercial success, but this is where the line gets drawn. After that point in time, Tennessee Williams was largely disparaged or ignored, and he continues to produce copious amounts of plays. And not only plays, short stories, poems, everything, but he continues to write. There are a good 30 to 40 plays post-1961, many which people have not heard about or are unaware of. Tennessee Williams was always an experimental playwright. The Glass Menagerie, it's a surrealistic play. It's a memory play. Beyond that, it's got a narrator who is a character. This is not normal dramatic structure and storytelling. If you look at the reading version of the script, he even has titles and things projected on the wall, kind of like what you might think of a Brecht play as being. Streetcar Named Desire uses this kind of expressionistic use of sound. Blanche hears, the waltz played in her head and the gunshot. This is, again, not normal dramaturgy and theater. So he was always an experimental playwright and a man of the theater, always going to see other people's work. So he knew what was going on at the theater of his time, and he begins to write and be influenced by such things as the absurdist, such things as a living theater. He attended the theater of the ridiculous. He saw these things and was impacted by them. Things that other playwrights of the period were being praised for, Tennessee Williams was being criticized for, because the play simply bore the name Tennessee Williams. People had another set of expectations. And it's only now, the 21st century, and after the centenary of his birth, which was last year, that we're kind of beginning to be able to accept Tennessee Williams on his own terms. To say, this is great that he wrote this kind of crazy, absurdist play. Why not? Why does he doesn't need to write another Streetcar. And who says that this isn't also a masterpiece?